Forgive me. Good evening and welcome to the Select Board meeting of Tuesday, October 15th. My name is Jim Lehan. I am joined by my fellow Select Board members, Anita Mecklenburg and Mr. Kevin Roach. Would you please stand and join me for a Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. We do have a brief, I say brief, probably no more than 30 to 40 minute executive session. Would someone please read the motion to go into executive session?
Yes. Do you want me to state the chair?
Make a motion.
Okay,
yes.
I request a motion that the board vote to convene an executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 20A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property off of Mill River Road and 111 Dedham Street. And I request a motion that the board enter into executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, section 2021, subsection A3, to discuss strategy with regard to potential litigation insofar as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the public body. And I request a motion that the board vote to convene an executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 20A7, to approve executive session minutes.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second, sir? Right. I need a roll call vote.
Anita Mecklenburg, aye.
Jim Lehan, aye.
Kevin Roach, aye.
Upon completion, we will go back into general session. We anticipate probably around 7 o'clock. Welcome back. We have adjourned from executive session, and we are now in general session. Is there any public comment this evening? I see none in the audience. Any at home? I don't see anyone on the screen.
Just the zoo.
Donna Jones.
Someone's joining right now.
right now.
Okay, we can give it a minute. Is there any public comment from those that are on Zoom this evening? Seeing none? All right. Justin, get on with the item before us.
The first action item is regarding a Town Hill event for Girl Scouts pumpkin carving on October 18th from 4:15 until 6 p.m. We've spoken with our public safety agencies. There's no concerns there. Just would like get permission from the board to have that event. Apparently, there's going to be approximately 17 girls. This has happened before, so we're excited to be able to host them again.
Any discussion?
No, I think it's amazing.
Can't imagine. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the Girl Scouts use Town Hill.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Do you want to do the thing from executive session?
Yeah, we can, sure. Let's do that.
Do you want to lead in?
We had discussion this evening regarding the purchase of some property. That discussion has concluded in executive session. We'd now like to take a vote in public session concerning that purchase.
All right. I move that we approve the acquisition of the property off Miller Road.
Off Mill River.
I'm sorry, on Mill River Road, Norfolk, Massachusetts, containing a total of 264,133 square feet, as shown on Assessor's Map 33/Block 6/Lot 55. Pending approval at town meeting for the price of $135,000.
So I have a second.
I second the
Any
motion.
further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote.
So this is a very brief agenda. Our next item is our capital and transfers list. This evening, we do have our finance director. I also will have some department heads here who will be present if the board has any questions regarding the capital list that we have or any of the future capital that we have. We'll have Chief Hines, we'll have Chief Kinney, Matt Malnerich, who's our facilities director, and Blair Crane, our DPW director. Todd, you want to come up real quick? Just a brief introduction. Todd will give the sort of the presentation of the PowerPoint that we'll be giving at town meeting. But as the board is aware, as we prepare for fall town meeting, we typically allocate funds for capital and any budgetary transfers. Todd will run through the budgetary transfers list, and we also have a proposed capital list for you as well. We did things a little bit differently this year. In the sense that we're also giving you the entire capital list, which is in your packet at the end, just so you can see that those outlier years, they will be a part of our capital improvement book as well. But we wanted to give that to you early in advance so you could see that information before we have time to build that book. So I will toss it to Todd. And I appreciate one other thing. So we met with all of our department heads. I appreciate all the effort and collaboration and working with them to come up with this list. And I appreciate Todd for working with me to help me get here as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. One small change from what was originally published for you. The transfer page.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Go 96, this one.
Yeah. So similar to years past, what we normally do at the fall town meeting is do some transfers. Some transfers include typically funding for the stabilization funds, our regular stabilization fund, and then also the OPEB, as we've done in the past, as well as making some departmental transfers depending on how things break out versus when we did the original budget versus extra expenses that we anticipate for the year up to this point. So typically we'll include that on the transfer list. So on the transfer list that we're proposing, stabilization fund, $200,000. The OPEB Trust Fund, $25,000. The Opioid Select Board Office, which is funding for expenses related to opioid remediation, is going to be $38,000. And that's comprised of two components, about 19,000 and change coming from free cash. The balance will come from the actual opioid stabilization fund itself. And so the total between those two numbers will be the $38,000 that's being targeted for the select board transfer. Land use is expecting increased legal fees related to some projects that are coming up, so they need about another $10,000 in their operating budget. Assessors Department, 5-year recertification. So every 5 years, the town has to go through an entire recertification of all assessed properties. And typically, that's an outside sourced company. We did go for bid, and the original placeholder was $50,000, but it came in at $51,800. That's the one adjustment that I made on the sheet that you have now. Norfolk Public Schools discussion was had early on regarding the budget, and if there was any additional monies received from the state, would we allocate back to the schools? That additional amount works out to be $69,089. And then to help fund the ELA curriculum, $100,000 transfer to the school's budget for this year. Total is about $493,889 as it stands now. That would be comprised of the two components again: free cash, $475, $374.75, and then the amount from the stabilization fund of $18,514.25. Any questions?
A little nuggets before we go on, because I know this question has been asked several times. In our stabilization fund, right now, we have approximately $2.6 million, and in our OPEB fund is almost $400,000 as well.
Justin and I did have a lengthy conversation about the contribution to the stabilization fund. We had two lengthy conversations that day. I won the first one, he won the second one. So we each went out with a 500 batting average, but I wanted to put more into the stabilization fund, but he convinced me that the 200,000 was the right number. So we're good. Or at least I'm good with it. Let's put it that way.
So if I may, can I piggyback off of that real quick?
Sure.
So the 2.6 that's currently in there, we'd be adding another 200,000. That brings us to 2.8 currently. We had a pretty good year as far as investment returns last year. I anticipate similar in this fund, so it's going to keep increasing a little bit. I know I talked previously, our goal is to keep in close alignment to a 5% amount in that account. So just off the operating budget, with that transfer, we'd be at 5.73% for the operating budget, and 5.3 with the overall budget on, including the exempt debt portion. So that dovetails in with what we trying to keep with. Thresholds, again, I previously talked about, 15% is ideally where S&P 500 metrics are looking at, but they do have a range of 8 to 15%. So we're getting closer to the 8% and trying to move away from the 5% as we have been in the past. So I think we're on a good trajectory. And again, that doesn't necessarily preclude us from making any contributions come springtime, depending on how things shake out.
And although we haven't done an official financial policy regarding that, I just want to say I think it's very important. I mentioned before to the board, S&P, who typically does the town's rating, so when it comes to sort of these bond projects, they really look at that 5% figure as sort of, for it to be a AA plus or higher. Obviously, what Todd mentioned, 15% is sort of the standard if you want to be a AAA, but at least being at 5% is really important for us to be at the minimum where we are now. So I think moving forward, we've got to try to continue to make, contributions to that stabilization fund, but we really shouldn't be going below that 5%. So, and we're on target with that, as Todd mentioned.
Well, I won't rehash the discussion we had, but that was the reason I wanted to put a little bit more money in there, because I'd like to get closer to 6, but that's okay. Anyway.
5.73 is not too bad.
Oh, no, it's actually, it's quite good for a town our size, but it's just, The stabilization fund is our insurance policy.
Yep.
And, it's our reserves, and it is also critical to our bond rating. It is critical. We're constantly in the borrowing business, and it makes a difference. So, yeah, no, I'm okay. So we were 1 for 1.
Any other questions?
Pardon?
Any other questions
No.
on the transfers? Article 3? I assume it's up behind me. Capital from borrowing. This is, if you want complete details, I'll let the chief come up and speak, but basically, Rentham and us are in alignment with getting a substantial grant from FEMA with respect to purchase of a ladder truck for use by the two towns. That $1 million will offset the potential $2.5 million ladder cost. That's the expectation. We hope that that number comes in a little bit lower, right, Chief? Yep, thought so. So the split between us and Rentham would be about $750,000 on the maximum amount, so that's why we're putting the $750,000 as a placeholder. This would be done within the operating budget, taken on as a ban. We have some debts coming off over the next year that this will dovetail in. We'll put it as a 10-year ban to cover that expense for the reduced amount so that we're smooth on the debt side within the operating budget.
Is the amount coming off equivalent to a 10-year band, or can we do it in a 5-year?
It'd be a 10-year.
Okay.
If we can go shorter, I'll look at going maybe 8 or 9 for the ban.
Can you get a better rate at the 5 than you can the 10? Most likely.
They're not too much different.
Okay.
A little bit.
A little bit.
But that's the borrowing aspect.
That's up.
What?
A little and a lot.
It does. Any questions on the borrowing for the ladder truck? Want to know the models or anything like that? I'll have to defer to Chief.
No,
No? Okay.
we should take this opportunity to thank our representatives and senators who got us the $1 million, and to thank our chief for looking at collaborating with Rentham. I think those are real benefits to our town.
I have no questions.
Nice job, Chief. By the way, congratulations on a great open house.
Really good.
All right, next item is Article 4. This is the capital expenditures. Each November, we go through, we have the department heads, as Justin explained a little bit earlier. Department heads, go ahead, fill out a complete request, which you should also have that listing of all the requests for the year. We then meet with each of the department heads, try and prioritize those requests, identify really what we can kind of accomplish, both from financial aspect, but also bandwidth aspect. Because if, we approve a project, but they don't have the capabilities, within the year to perform on that project, it doesn't make a lot of sense to move forward with that project. So putting that all together, mixing it up, this is what we've come up with as far as recommendation. It includes from facilities and maintenance, the library, having some carpeting replacement. The carpeting replacement is substantially a lot more than this amount, but this at least starts them in the right direction for trying to achieve. We anticipate, doing this in steps, so getting the entire library or the required amount of carpeting replaced. That turns out to be $35,000. Townwide ADA compliance, we have. If you look at the numbers, they're off the charts as far as getting us in complete compliance, which we want to start to at least chip away at. So our recommendation is $25,000 towards that. Fire department lithium-ion battery mitigation. This is for those cars and other vehicles that are electric and have issues with batteries, and being able to try and contain those types of fires, because the normal equipment and water, et cetera, doesn't necessarily contain those types of fires and situations. So this $10,000 would get them towards getting the necessary equipment in order to combat those types of situations. We just don't have those capabilities at the moment, given the current setup with the equipment and the current budget. Would definitely not fall within the operating budget, so we didn't plan for that, but, so $10,000 towards that. The information technology, this year we have some funds that are in another grant that are going to help support the purchase of some switches and things of that sort. The typical amount is closer to $53,000 to $55,000 annually. But with that amount that's in the grants, we're able to come in with the $45,000 amount, and that covers replacement of computers, monitors, printers, which we put on like a 5-year plan. So with 120 some odd pieces of equipment throughout the town, this allows us the opportunity over a 5-year period to keep refreshing the technology services. And usually, well, most technology is antiquated after 6 months, but this allows us at least the opportunity to keep the equipment up and running so that people don't fall too far behind. Land use, they have a lot of files, and they're in the file cabinets. This $35,000 would be outsourcing servicing to have those files scanned and then archived and be able to be retrieved in a very systematic and easy effort, especially when it comes to public records requests. It makes life a little bit easier. And for them to be able to look up historically any other items that they need to as well. We had done this in the building department. It was a little bit of work on our side, the town side, in order to get the items in place, which Rich, his office will do. But the services comes in, they take those boxes, scan them in, get them all coded, and then provide you necessary files for you to be able to retrieve the information. Norfolk schools, EBS consoles. The EBS is the electronic broadcast system. Right now, their console is antiquated, can't get parts for it or replacements, things of that sort, and they're in a pickle if they have a situation arise where they can't utilize the EBS system. This console would dovetail into what we have over there as far as the network is concerned, and brings them up to current, current version, as they say, within the console. An added-on component of that is the speaker systems in there. Eventually down the road, those would probably need to be addressed as well as for the replacement system. Norfolk Schools technology replacement, similar to our side, where we do a refreshment of computers, printers, laptops, things of that sort. The school side does as well, and we're targeting $30,000 for that. The Norfolk Schools HOD boiler, it's 2 components. The boiler itself, we originally were targeting $450,000 as a placeholder, but when going out to find out, what's the real cost going to be, because we were, contemplating on doing one aspect of the boiler system, and then maybe next year do another, but lo and behold, if we do both, now, the price actually all in is $265, and that covers the replacement of the boiler system there. So we think it makes prudent sense to get them both done now. We can do certainly half, but it would be much more than half of the price of the $265. And since we originally had a placeholder of $450, it made, at least we felt comfortable going forward with recommending doing the full replacement of the HOD boilers. And over at the Freeman Kennedy, they have a water heater. Similar situation, needs to be replaced. That's at $85,000. Police vehicles. So in the 219.5, I forget exactly off the top of my head, but I'll have Chief Hines here if you have the questions. In that request that we're recommending is an admin car or undercover type unit, and then 2 cruisers. And they'll be fully loaded, decaled, lights, radios, the whole 9 yards. And that all in is the 219.5. Recreation. In years past, we haven't done a lot with recreation. We have tried to help out on a few different things. ARPA funds, we helped out with doing some pickleball evaluations. But we thought, trying to help them out with this particular aspect of the baseball, softball field restore helps them in the right path as well. So $10,000 allocation for the restoration of one of the baseball, softball fields for Ann. DPW office ceiling, similar to the library carpeting replacement. It's a little bit bigger of a number, but at least this is a step in the right direction to get a lot of the plumbing hardware and HVAC lined up so that they can take the next steps of actually putting a drop ceiling in to make it a little bit more energy efficient over there, better with heating and reducing overall costs on a long-term basis. DPW ADA sidewalk improvements, again, going back to the ADA where we talked about the compliance up top, we want to start and try and tackle some of these pieces that are in the town and allocating $25,000 to that is our recommendation. Roadway construction, typically we set aside about $100,000. There's a little over $400,000 that comes in Chapter 90 each year, which is utilized and spent on doing roads. We've identified we probably at least $900,000, if not $1 million, maybe $1.1 million each year should be going towards roads in order to maintain. But we're trying to do the best we can with what we have. So $125,000 is actually $25,000 more than last year of what we anticipated or what we recommended. So $125,000 for roadway construction. And then last part of this capital ask is the Mirror Lake dike and dam mitigation. Again, the actual all-in cost is going to be a little bit more, but this at least starts the process in the right directions to see, getting engineering and figuring out the next steps of what we need to do to ultimately get this project taken care of. And if you have questions on that, Blair's here. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Capital total is $1,089,500. The $473,000 transfer works out to be $1,563,000. With our free cash, that was $3,287,000. That leaves us a balance of about $1.7 million for spring to be utilized either through, hopefully not snow, but budget concerns and or stabilization transfers or whatever else arises from here.
Questions?
No.
Rita,
I have questions.
please.
So just starting with the library carpeting, is there an opportunity for us to replace that carpeting with insurance because of the sprinkler leaking situation that we had, or has that already been?
So Matt can correct me if I'm wrong, but the insurance has gone through and the items that have been replaced through the insurance process has been completed. This is updating stuff that would not be applicable with the insurance.
Okay, thank you. I also had questions about the ADA compliance. I remember we had that sort of 5-year plan or the big chart about that, and I felt like we were chipping away at that, but this is a renewed, it sounds like not much happened this year, so we're renewing our energy in that direction.
Yep.
I think that's a good thing, so thank you.
One thing I would add to that, so you're right, there was a study regarding this, but we hadn't actually allocated funds in capital for ADA work just yet. I mean, we have done work, we've done work within our relevant departments in the operating budgets, but I thought it was important for us, because there's well over $1 million worth of these expenses that were highlighted, to make some capital investments in these areas. So, I think we're going to be aggressive in going after grants and so forth too, but at least we wanted to put some capital into it as well. But we do some of that in the departmental budgets.
Thank you. I'm just going to keep going, is that okay?
Sure.
So the scanning of the things, is that a one-time thing where we scan the files and then we're done, or is that an ongoing thing?
It's a one-time thing because they're going to get all their historical files scanned, and then on a going-forward basis, they'll be able to scan
Scan their own
themselves, yeah.
things. All right, thank you. And then we'll have to let Thomas know about the cruisers, so he's informed of it. And the only other thing is with the Mirror Lake dike and dam mitigation, sometimes Charles River Watershed has clever ideas about other alternate funding, so we could maybe reach out to them and say if they have, can help us out. But this looks great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and we better have this in print for town meeting. And this is beautiful, this page is beautiful, and it's nice big font, and so that people aren't disgruntled.
Sure.
Because we've been reminded of that in the past. That's all I have.
We will have paper at town meeting, and it'll be posted in advance.
And nice and big, like this is fine for me, but for town meeting, that's useful.
Well, those pretty much covered my questions, too.
Okay.
Actually, no, I just have two. Can you, well, Chief and Deputy Chief, nice to see you both here. Cameras.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, is it my understanding you're looking at grants for that?
That is correct. Yes, ma'am.
Chief, come up.
Hold on.
So we can get the mic. That was one of the ones I thought.
Nice to see you both.
Yes, you too. We have just recently applied for body-worn cameras. That was, just last week we applied for that grant. The deputy was spearheading that. She can go into a little more detail if you like on that.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, so getting some information from one vendor so far, we found that most companies are now doing a comprehensive package. So the comprehensive package includes the cameras, all the ancillary technology, mounting equipment for the uniforms, but it also includes the storage, which is predominantly the really high number that we were fearful of as we were pursuing this. That number has been reduced considerably because they're doing everything in-house now. That also includes software that we'll need for redaction, so to remove witnesses and things like that. And it's actually been a learning process for me, but they use artificial intelligence for a lot of that. So you can say things like, take the guy in the red sweater out of the video. So it's real. The technology is amazing, and the pricing is a lot better than we were anticipating in terms of pricing. And again, this is from one vendor so far, but the pricing is looking like $699 per officer per month. Now, that doesn't include the first year. We obviously have to purchase all of the equipment. We have to purchase the software. So the grant we applied for was about $28,100. So we're hopeful that that can get us, the grant is for the last half of the fiscal year, so we're hoping that that can maybe get us up and running if we get that grant, and then we'll see come budget time what we can do for the fiscal year '26. So.
Thank you. I want to compliment you both and your department for pursuing this, and the support that your team has for this. It's
Thank you.
when you're doing the right thing, it's an easy thing to support. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
No,
Okay.
I think it's fabulous.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And this is just more of a curiosity question, because can you tell me a little bit about what is really wrong with the Mirror Lake Dike and Dam? And I know it's probably a lot.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
So this, to answer your question, this issue has been going on for a few years now. The dam is not, and the dike and the dam are not curing themselves and continue to deteriorate. They are both rated and have been rated for the last few years now as in poor condition, with seepage, measurable seepage from a trace to half a gallon a minute coming through the dike. So there is vegetation on the downstream side that is only borne by having water. So all the indicators are there. It's been assessed by an outside engineer as well as the state. So it needs to be taken care of, and over the years, it's a considerable expense.
This will fix the whole thing?
No, this will get us started. This will get us through the design phase of taking a look at what's there and get us through that, but not enough money to get us through like construction documents or any of that. So probably somewhere in the neighborhoods of about $225,000 to get through the permitting stage of that before we get into construction of whatever the remedy ends up being.
Okay. That's what I was curious. Yeah.
And can that be shared with Rentham, or is it?
Well, I'm actually meeting with Rentham's DPW director tomorrow, as a matter of fact, to have this very discussion.
Excellent. I love that.
So
They do have a common interest.
they do, and without the dike and the dam, that's Mirror Lake Stream, and I don't think anyone wants to see that. So it definitely needs to be addressed, and I think that we're moving in that direction. I'll have that discussion with them tomorrow and report back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just further information regarding that, Blair and myself have actually worked with the Rentham Town Administrator their personnel is changing there, so we let the assistant town administrator know as well. And for the board's just knowledge, we did secure a $20,000 earmark for this. That's in the fiscal year '25 budget. I think depending on how these conversations go with Rentham moving forward as well, this is pretty expensive project, so we're going to advocate for some more funding there in regards to grants or earmarks as well. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mary. Kevin, questions? No? All good.
So, Mr. Chair, I think just so you all know, and the board's aware, so advisory is meeting on Thursday to talk about these lists in the capital. I'm assuming, if you guys have no other questions, I think I've brought the departments that you might want to hear from. I'm going to tell them I think they're all set, and then advisory is all set in terms of this list. It has a stamp of approval from the board.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
You're welcome. Todd, thank you. No problem.
Thank you.
All right.
I don't have any updates. You mentioned the fire station open house that occurred this past weekend. It was a good event to attend. The fire station building committee is coming up with a date for the ribbon cutting, so that wasn't obviously during that period. So we're working on that. Just gearing for town meeting. So the town meeting, November 12th. That's my updates, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I have one brief update. We do have our weekly calls with the state. I can give some information on it, but there is more that we're still working on that will be discussed this week and potentially even for another week or two that we're still working on. But just in terms of numbers, as of last Thursday, there were 53 families, total of 173 people. A number had been outplaced. That number is smaller than it was the week before. So they are getting more outplacements, and they are working diligently to, I guess I would just call it, fine-tune the system, trying to sort of get the kinks out to make it work a little bit more smoothly so that people are not here as long as they currently are staying. There is a lot in discussion right now that I can't elaborate on because we don't have everything drilled down and full commitments yet, but it was a productive meeting. You have anything to add on that? Really?
No, I think just the capacity was 215 before, and it's gone down, and I think, our department heads are actively attending these meetings, and, both superintendents from the schools are on these meetings, so trying to navigate, the school placements.
There are still issues with the schools, but we have not still, knock on wood, had a single public safety issue to date, so that continues to go smoothly. So that's all I'm at liberty to share at this particular point. Hopefully, in the near future, we'll have more details on a few things. So, anyone else have anything?
No, the moon was beautiful this evening. That's about all I've got.
Okay. Sir?
No.
The open house was wonderful. The fire station's phenomenal. I think they were well attended.
I was out of town, so I
Yeah.
missed it.
A lot of people there. I walked through, a lot of people, so, yeah. I don't have any other items. Kate, anything? Evan?
No.
It's a very brief meeting this evening. Okay, no further business. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Wait,
Oh,
we need
sorry.
warrants.
Oh, sorry, the
Warrants
warrants.
and minutes.
We need to approve the warrants and the minutes. My apologies.
I move that we approve the warrants as listed in the agenda.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
The
we
minutes, Kevin. Oh, we already,
don't have,
You have minutes.
You have minutes.
we do. Mr. Clerk, have you had a chance to review? If you haven't, I did, so I can
Okay,
do it.
yes.
Okay, I move to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
okay. Moved and seconded.
Any further discussion?
None at all.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd had a chance to look. I came early. All right. Justin, anything else?
I have nothing else.
All right, we'll try it again. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much for joining us this
Thank
evening.
you.